By the way, you must have heard me talk about the trap of debt 1,000,001 times, and that anyone who is not keen and deliberate in the way they handle their money can be trapped in debt, regardless of their position in society. Well, I figured out 4 stages of the trap of debt, the process through which the trap of debt takes someone seamlessly from the beginning to when someone feels that they have hit a dead end. And these 4 stages are what I call the introduction stage, the multiplication stage, the addiction stage, and lastly, the lock stage. Let me say something about the introduction stage, and then I will talk about the other 3 in the subsequent By the Way episodes, so that then we can have a glimpse and an understanding of what that journey looks like. So in the introduction stage, as the name suggests, this is where it all begins. This is where one gets introduced to the trap of debt. You have been borrowing successfully and repaying your debt successfully, but this is where your journey in the trap of debt begins. So how does it look like to be in this stage? Now, if you've borrowed several debts and you've been repaying well, at the introduction stage, at least one of your debts begins to go into arrears. It begins to go overdue. Due date comes and you do not have the money to pay on the required day, or you have partial amount, you begin to struggle in the repayment of your debt. At that stage, that struggle might extend up to 2 cycles, 2 repayment cycles. In other words, if you've been paying your debt monthly and you've been paying well, you might find yourself going into arrears of up to 2 months unpaid. Or you are struggling perpetually for 2 months. That means maybe the first month you either did not have the repayment amount in full or you had it partially. And so you paid partially. But again, the second month, you do not have enough money to clear the arrears of the first month and to also clear the repayment for the second month. And therefore also on the second month, you find your debt in arrears. That is how the introduction stage looks like. And also in that introduction stage, you begin to pay your bills late. That is the time you find yourself explaining to your landlord why you may not be able to beat the 5th of every month's deadline. That is the time you find yourself paying your water bills late. That's the time you find yourself for the first time your water has been disconnected, your electricity has been disconnected. Telltale signs that things are beginning to get thick. Now, here is the interesting thing about the introduction stage. At the introduction stage, if corrective measures are put in place, it is the easiest stage to fix things. It is so easy for things to revert back to normalcy. Now, sadly, unfortunately, very many people brush off these signs as mere ups and downs in the financial life. They say this is the usual up and downs of money. Everyone at some point will be up and down, and so they brush it aside and say these are just the usual storms of life. And before they know it, then it degenerates into something worse. It moves into the second stage that we will talk about in the next By the Way episode. So be cautious. Every time you see these simple indicators, take a pause, check and see how you are handling your money. Begin to look for solutions, because this is the easiest stage through which you can revert things back to normalcy. Look, you can do better. And this is By the Way.